What's up, everybody? We are back. Hopefully this will be one of the last installments of my Eureka vacation, which is my getting out of the smoke in California here. This is John Delarose coming to you from away from the smoke, which I hope dissipates soon. Please dissipate soon, smoke. I want to go back home. And I'm on Delarose.com. Delarose.com is my website where all my videos get posted. I do some commentary on comic industry. It's DELARROZ.com. You can sign up for my newsletter there, never miss a video, never miss one of my new releases, and get some free comic books. So lots of fun there. Please head over. All right, this is the Avengers Epic Collection, The Gatherer's Strike, and if you've noticed my Epic Collection reading habits as of recent, I've been going through this Avengers run. There's a whole run of these, and you can see on the inside of the flap here. It starts with the Collection Obsession in Volume 21, Operation Galactic Storm, Fear the Reaper, and The Gatherer's Strike. So I got 4 volumes in a row as a nice big run, and this is Bob Harras and Steve Epting's run. And a lot of it culminates here and references a lot of the other volumes, so I highly will say up front, if you've not read starting with the Collection Obsession, I would start there before getting into any of this. And this is Volume 24, 1993, 1994. Only 7 issues of the actual Avengers, 360 to 366, Annual 22, The Terminatrix Objective 1 through 4, which is a miniseries, Avengers Strike File, and Anniversary Magazine. So this is like the 30th anniversary of the Avengers coming up, and they did this whole special all the way through here, which you got to see. And all the covers, they look very funky in here, but they were like metallic looking actual covers, and they popped up, so they had a lot of texture to them through all of these. Very interesting stuff at the time. And we start out with the Vision has been replaced by fake Vision from an alternate reality from the Gatherers, who are like supposed to be this Avengers anti-team. Now, Bob Harras mentions in an interview that he did this because he thought the Avengers really didn't have a good like villain who was like their villain. So he hoped the Gatherers could kind of solve that. I don't know. Did he succeed in that? You'll have to tell me. Steve Epting's art is pretty good. I mean, he's got that 90s style almost that for the layouts, but he maintains the figure work of like the 80s house style, which I really appreciate. So it's almost a bridge between Marvel of old and then Marvel what it becomes in kind of the modern era. So it's an interesting art style, to say the least. Lots of standing around and crossing arms and looking buff, because that's the 90s. And we've got an interesting Avengers lineup in this one. We've got Vision, of course. We've got Cersei from the Eternals. We've got the Swordsman. We've got the Black Knight. We've got Crystal. And it's like, huh? Where are all the Avengers gone? And again, Bob Harras kind of did this intentionally because he wanted to bring a family feel to the characters that the old Avengers had. So he kind of just like let the old ones have their space in their own magazines and had these characters he could actually develop. Hercules is another member here. And we see the Gatherers striking, which is the deal. Now, Captain America finally comes back in this. He's been gone for several issues if you watched before. And this is from this is just overviews of all the characters who have been hanging out lately. A little bit of Marvel Age. And what's interesting in this part, so Cersei is going through some madness or whatever. And the Eternals come to check on her in this and try to break her from her madness, and they fight the Avengers, of course. And, you know, lots of knockdown, drag-out fights. There's lots of soap opera drama. What I do like about this run is there's lots of soap opera drama. So there's, like, relationships that are going sour. There's hidden agendas, things like that. People are hiding stuff from each other. I'm very interested in all this. Now, Vision reveals himself as a fake Vision in this one. You know, some of the art is meh. What can you do? But then they have to fight this alternate Vision, and they vow that they're gonna go take down the Gatherers. There we go. Now, I had this issue when I was a kid. This is 363, and when I had this as a kid, I was so lost because, again, like I said, I would recommend reading this starting with the Collection Obsession. I didn't know who any of these characters were. I was just expecting Captain America and Thor and stuff, and they're not in it. Except, I mean, he kind of is. And so, as a kid picking this up and never having read Avengers before, this was a disaster of an issue to pick up. But they are going after the Gatherers in their base at this point. and finally taking them down. Now what I got is there's a huge knockdown drag out fight between them, and it's just lots of fighting and fighting and fighting. We reveal a little about their alternate universe where they're from, where the Avengers apparently caused their destruction. Frack-a-boom. Look at that splash page. Alright. Cool stuff. And they finally kind of take down the Gatherers here. The Anachronauts are from last volume also. They're part of a Kang world. And so lots of pinups and extra features in all of these volumes, which don't necessarily work with the storyline. So it just adds to the confusion if you were not reading along this entire time. So that's kind of over. It was kind of an anticlimactic end. The Gatherers have been like going through the whole last volume, and you do get a big fight for a full issue, but like I just felt like their motivations weren't clear enough, and they really didn't develop their plans enough. Like the Avengers may have popped them a little too early without enough stakes being raised, I guess. Even though it went for a long time, the stakes just didn't get there, and they just didn't feel like enough of a threat. I feel like Vision probably could have train wrecked a little bit more. Now what happens at this point is they're out in wherever, and this lady comes from the Shi'ar. She's called Deathcry. She's supposed to protect them. And guess what? The Sentries, and this goes back to Operation Galactic Storm 2 volumes ago. So it all ties in. Like I said, he's been building a lot of dramas and a lot of soap opera type of stuff, and that's why I think this is pretty well done on that level, even if the characters are not like, you know, the people who I expected, and there's some silly elements to it too. But basically, the Kree are back. They blame the Avengers for the death of their world. So they're gonna kill Earth. Ha! And Cersei's still worried about herself going mad. Now, there's another soap opera element is she's gotten bonded telepathically to the Black Knight here, and she's chosen him as her mate forever. And they're trying to look at her whole madness thing. It's all right. Now we got a guest penciler, Mike Gustovich here for this next one, and you know, his art's not as good. It's just a little flatter compared to Steve Epting here, but that's what you get when you get a guest penciler. And they have their little fight. And this is this isn't guest penciler. This is the annual. The annual is interesting. It goes into the Swordsman, and the Swordsman has a whole character who like draws the evil sword. Or is it the Black Knight? Black Knight draws his evil sword. And this guy's got his evil sword, and he thirsts for justice. And he gets this like weird horse thing, and he has a fight with the actual Black Knight. And there you go. And so he's an interesting character. Obviously, they're trying to develop a new character and get a new thing going on. You get this background story of the Anachronauts, and you think, why is this in here? Because we already dealt with the Kang thing last issue. And you'll see, they're building up to it. And I feel like, I'll talk about it in a sec. But again, this is just like very boring, not great art. But it goes back to the Black Knight times of old stuff. So it kind of adds to that mythos a little bit. Pretty interesting stuff. You know, it just doesn't get followed up on later too much, even though they built all this. So, you know, once it got rebooted with Heroes Reborn or whatever, with the Avengers, you kind of just, like, all this stuff just kind of disappeared forever. Kind of sad. All right, so we got 2 more issues of them fighting with the Kree. Got this one here. I hate these little sideways things. They have to turn the pages sideways. They did that for a bit in the 90s again. And more 30th anniversary pinups and stuff like that. Too much of it. Too many special issues, right? And we think Cersei's going mad still. Just all this is still going on. It's the same storyline as before. They finally wrap most of it up, and they finally beat up on the Kree. The Kree go off in their failure, and we have a nice ending. Now this is a double-sized issue for this one, and Giant Man comes back in this one, which is good because we bring back the first Avenger, one of the originals, to help with the team. This is one of the other things that drives me crazy about the 90s. This like reminds me of almost like X-Force, where they all stand around in these silly poses trying to look awesome and all that, and they're all talking, but they're all facing us, but in this silly pose. And a lot of this, like this Kree storyline, really felt like X-Force more than it felt like Avengers to me. And so that's where I might have to say, meh, this was not my favorite, as I'm not really that big of an X-Force fan. But if you like a lot of action, you like a lot of drama on that level, you should enjoy this. Now, Swords Play comes back with this character again, and we are forced to see them fight again, and Deadpool guest stars in this one. And the lady who the Black Knight was dating back in his castle or whatever gets killed in the process of this, and the Black Knight takes down the bad guy, but not really, and he disappears and gets his sword back. So they redeveloped that again. I don't know if they were trying to launch a series for the Black Knight or whatnot, but never ended up happening. And that's actually up to date on the actual Avengers storyline here. Now, this is the Terminatrix objective, and you notice that they're adding a lot of stuff from that Kang world from the annuals crossover that was in the last volume. And I was wondering if they might be getting ready to have Grunwald actually just like do a storyline in the Avengers or something like that. But they did it instead in this miniseries format, where Mark Grunwald revisits that annuals crossover. So if you liked that, it comes back. And this character here is, what's her name? I can't remember her name. Gosh, too many names. Ravonna Lexis Renslayer, better known as Terminatrix. Why would I? Terminatrix subjective. Of course she's Terminatrix. And she's like Kang's lover or whatever. And she's taken over his future empire. And there's all these weird wars going on in the realities. So they get War Machine, Thunderstrike, and US Agent to try to help them. Why they've got them, I don't know. But they pull them into it and claim they're the ones that they need. And we get this sort of cosmic time travel-y thing where they're fighting a bunch of people, and there's this weird stuff like influencing the timelines, and the timelines are in this are treated like they're like actual territories. So there's people controlling different territories, and Terminatrix is scared that the Kangverse is going to get wiped out by this unseen thing. Now she also summons the Avengers, and you get very confused through this. You're like, what's going on here? And now the Avengers of Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man fight their counterparts in US Agent, Thunderstrike, and War Machine. This is totally just an excuse for them to have a fight. And nothing's resolved, and they eventually go, guys, we should handle this and work together. And they do that generic superhero thing. You get this like really bad 90s art here with these like very circular water balloon boobs, as you can see, and very odd arms and shapes of people. And this is, I guess, Revelation or whatever. And she's, in theory, the daughter of Terminatrix and Kang in the future. You know, they kind of play games with the identities of who's who. There's this whole, like, Kang club that they end up with, and they have to fight their way out of in the next issue. And so now they're working together. This is probably the least inspiring art out of the whole thing. Again, it just feels like a convoluted X-Force issue more than it feels like a Avengers issue with less good art. They try to do the X-Force like things, but they get like very stilted looking weird poses. What can you do? Oh well. So the Avengers fight through time, and they end up teaming up with Kang because there's an even bigger threat who's going to destroy everybody, and it's got these weird smoke monsters. I don't know. It is confusing stuff. And there's all these different Terminatrixes across time, and different timelines are referenced, and Mark Grunwald is really into that. If you ever follow Mark Grunwald's stuff, he loved the whole multiverse, and he had this stuff plotted out through thousands and millions of years, every direction, and he had all this stuff, all these notes on all these things, and it was ridiculous. So Kang made this like robot thing to go fight this like evil thing that's taking over all the timelines and all that, and eventually it kind of segues itself in there, and the Avengers just kind of piece out of there. Why did they have to be in it to begin with? Because Kang just sent them in there to insert his like robot thing into that timeline to quote help save all the timelines. Why couldn't he have done it or anybody have done it? I don't know. So the Avengers really didn't have much going on here. They really just kind of went back to their world afterwards and kind of forgot about it. And this is again a reference to that annual storyline where there's this like timely 1930s era where Kang is the mayor and he looks like this. And it's very bizarre. Lots of timelines. Not much gets resolved. There's an eternal struggle. And, you know, I don't know. I didn't really need that storyline. We did the Avengers Strike File, which is a whole deal of extras basically. This ties into the Kree deal in 363 to 366. So you might actually want to turn to this and read this before that, because it actually goes over the Galactic Storm deal from the perspective of the Kree, and also shows the characters who are going to go back and help them. So if you want a refresher on this, I'd actually turn to this page first before going back into that. And we get a bunch of pinups, of course. All the pinups. That's all we want, is extra pages of pinups. How exciting. And then the Avengers magazine, is just a bunch of interviews and things like that, which was, I looked at this and I read a couple of them and I was like, this is too much text. I can't do it. I just don't care enough. So if you care enough and you love it and you love the Avengers and you love this era, you've got so much right here. But I read a couple of them and then I just pieced out of this. So that's 100 pages of kind of useless material right there at the end. I thought the miniseries was pretty weak. It was nice. It was nice as a follow-up. It's like a sequel, right? It's a sequel that, you like the beginning concept, okay, and it really didn't need a sequel, but you got one anyway, and that was that. I'd say the actual Avengers issues with the Cersei stuff and the Black Knight and his sword and all that drama going on between the characters, and then the Kree returning, that was pretty neat. So I give that a pretty high remarks. But the supplemental material, which is about half the volume, really was kind of meh. So it's okay. It's a 7 out of 10, I think. If you like the Avengers and you like this era, you're going to enjoy it. I'd say it's kind of popcorny. Not much to it other than that. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below and hit that like and subscribe button. We'll be back soon.